Alright, and we are back. We're going to be going over chapter 22. This says, live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young. Before we get started with this, I want to share something with you guys really quick that I was kind of pondering of. And this has crossed my mind several times before. So we're thinking about really marijuana and the effects that it really does have upon our thinking. And it's like, because, and really I'm starting to think clearer now, the effects of it are wearing off. Now I really step back and look at it. It's like our thoughts get attached to this outside element. Remember how we were talking about by George Matthew Adams in his quote in the Master Key System, that we need to learn how to keep out of our office, out of our mind, out of our world, every element that seeks admittance with no definite helpful end in view. If it's not helping you move forward, it's only, it's detrimental. It's keeping you back. And what happens is that when I do something like that and I do smoke, it's like my thoughts get attached to the marijuana, like they're stuck, because they're blending in, like the fabric of my consciousness is blending in with the elements of the THC, and that THC is just like the fabric of my mind is just made up of THC for a bit. So when I think, the nature of my thought is just naturally in a state of naturally in another place, because I'm naturally in a different realm. Because you smoke something, you just change your state of consciousness. And because of this change and because of this element, it naturally changes the nature of your very thinking, because of the change in the state of consciousness. It's literally like our thinking is attached to an external substance, and until that substance wears off, then our thinking will be up there again. It'll be beyond that again. It'll be clear again. So let's go ahead and begin with chapter 22. Live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young. The purpose of life is continuous advancement. All the principles of life are based upon the purpose, and all the laws of life are formed to promote that purpose. Everything in nature is created with an inherent tendency to advance, to move forward, to rise in the scale. Therefore, anything that retards continuous advancement, or that is not in harmony with continuous advancement, is unnatural. And that which is unnatural is caused by a violation of natural law. And weed is something of this world. Marijuana is something of this world. God didn't create us high. That is just something that is created on this world. It's worldly. Live only for God. Well, not only for God, but live for God. Because you don't want to neglect your fellow men. You have to live for others as well. But we can't live for others if we keep violating natural law. Thoth the Atlantean in the Emerald Tablets, in his Emerald Tablets, talks about how we must seek only God. Seek for God. Seek for God. For God is the only reality. That everything else is only an illusion to the senses. That even all matter is nothing but, tamas. It's tamas. It's matter. It's dead. It's not alive. It's nothing but particles and elements and things put together and held together by a force, a mind, a spirit, the mind of God, the intelligence of the universe. It is this force that is the real reality of things, that has created and put this pine cone and is holding this pine cone together. That this pine cone in its real state of being is nothing but energy, and it's only manifesting as a pine cone because of its rate of vibration and its energy. that pine cone itself only exists in the senses. But that pine cone in its real state of being is above what is being perceived by the senses. Seek for God. For all things that exist in the senses are only an illusion. And that is the very reason why somebody who's just in the most absolute pain, but they could get through it because they believe, and they're strong in mind, they're strong in thought, because matter is as nothing compared to mind, because mind is the very force that creates, fashions, molds, and shapes matter. Really cool. To promote continuous advancement in the being of man is to cause every element, force, function, faculty, and action in the human system to rise perpetually in the scale of life, and this means increased activity, a higher order of activity, with greater results from every human endeavor. But such results cannot be secured if the system is permitted to go down to weakness and old age. To grow old is to go in the opposite direction. It is to retard all progress and to decrease both the quality and the quantity of those results that naturally follow the actions of life. To grow old, therefore, is unnatural and a direct violation of the laws of life. To act in harmony with the laws of life, the individual must move forward perpetually. But when he permits himself to grow old, he does not move forward. Instead, he causes everything in his system to go down. It is therefore evident that the aging process is contrary to the purpose of life, and it is not a product of nature, but it can be, it is a product of mind. Because when we don't move forward and he causes everything in the system to go down, the aging process will be. Since it is unnatural to grow old, it must be natural to stay young. In consequence, every person, to be true to nature, must not only live in the full conviction that it is natural to stay young, but he must live that he perpetually stays. But he must so live that he perpetually will stay young. That he must live in the conviction that he is always young, in order for him to actually stay young. Because if we're not convicted within the mind will never be able to perpetuate that within the body. And the body itself is always young anyway. So why would we allow our mind to be tricked by the senses and in creating old age conditions in our life when old age is not a reality? That perpetual youth is a gift of nature is evident to all who search the real life of nature, but only those who are true to nature can receive the gift. To be true to nature, the individual must not only live in harmony with the laws of nature, but must also aim to become as much as nature has given him the power to become. Nature has given man the ability to advance perpetually, and has given him unlimited possibilities through which such advancement may be promoted. Therefore, to be true to his nature, man must take advantage of the privilege that has been placed in his possession. To live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young, to live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young is to base all life, all thought, and all action upon that conviction, and consequently everything that is said or done must be in harmony with the idea of staying young. To be in harmony with this idea, a number of usual statements, plans, and intentions must be changed completely. We must no longer say, quote, "the older I get," quote, but should say instead, quote, "the longer I live," end quote. We must bring our affirmations up to a higher plane of being. We must speak more positive. We must think more positive. We must vibrate more positive. So we must give that in order to get it. And if we keep giving old age, we'll keep getting old age. To live the first statement is to cause the mind to think that old age is actually coming on, and such thought will invariably produce the aging tendency. To use the second statement is to ignore age and impress upon the mind the idea of a longer and longer life. To live in harmony with the idea of youth, we must never think of saving for old age, because such thought will cause the mind to look forward to old age, to expect age, and consequently to produce age. Instead, we should think of accumulating for use in a larger future. To live in the thought of accumulation will cause all the forces of life to produce perpetual increase in our own world. Now, quote by Charles F. Hannell, and how he says that all gain is the result of an accumulative consciousness, and all loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. Scattering your mind forces will result in a loss of consciousness, a loss of things, material things as well, because all material possession is based on mental possession. And to live in the thought of accumulation will cause all the forces of life to produce perpetual increase in our own world. And to constantly look forward to a larger future will cause the same forces to create for us a larger future. To think of saving for a rainy day is in like manner thoroughly unscientific. To expect rainy days just to produce hard luck, and to live in the belief that we may be in a dire need something, is to limit our own powers more and more until their capacity to produce the necessary supply is practically reduced to nothing. To be scientific, we should continue to accumulate in the present in order that we may have abundance in the coming days, and thus be able to take advantage of those greater opportunities that positively will come to him who lives the advancing life. To be natural, we must expect to stay young, and to continue to stay young is to continue to live an active, useful, productive life. Such a life will naturally enter into larger and larger fields of endeavor, and to take the best possible advantage of those larger fields, we must accumulate the best of everything in the present, in mind, body, and in all else, as material necessities. We must not, however, deal penuriously with the present. Everything that can be used to advantage now should be placed in use now. Nothing should be hoarded in the present that can, if placed in use, produce increase in the present. But we should never try to save and accumulate in the present because we expect want in the future. There will be no want in the future if we make the best possible use of our faculties in the present, but the future will present larger opportunities, and we do not wish to approach those opportunities empty-handed. But in order to really appreciate those more opportunities in the future and to be able to notice them, we have to grow our mind. We have to develop insight. We have to be able to see it. We have to recognize it. We have to know it. And that involves with being here, present in the here and now, and keeping your mind around the things that are happening here and now. To live more thoroughly and more completely in the conviction that it is natural to stay young, the statement, "I am young," should be frequently impressed upon the mind. In fact, the whole life should live and move and have its being in the very spirit of that statement. To live in the real spirit of youth is to absolutely know that we are in the life of youth. That is, we will know the great truth that real life is ever young, and the knowing of that truth will place the entire system in that life. It is this truth that will give us freedom from the falseness of old age and place being in the true state of youth, vigor, health, and wholeness. When we know that real life is ever young, it becomes second nature to live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young, because only that which is real is natural, and what becomes second nature becomes subconscious, and to stay young will therefore become an inseparable part of life, due to the fact that it is as the subconscious is, so is also the entire person of man. To live in the conviction that it is natural to stay young, it is necessary to train the consciousness to enter as deeply as possible into the soul of nature. On the surface, Nature may suggest varying ideas, but in the depths of the soul of nature, the ideas of continuous advancement and continuous youth are revealed in most positive terms, and it is not appearances, but the real truth upon which we must base our convictions. Do not judge by appearances. Instead, look beyond them. Look for the cause of that appearance. Because what appears to be is only an effect of what has really set in motion, which is a mind, which is a thought. When the mind realizes absolutely that it is natural to stay young, the forces of human nature will begin to produce youth. They will cease to follow unnatural race habits and will, instead, proceed to do what they were created to do. The entire human system will be emancipated from the false thoughts of the ages and will be placed absolutely in the keeping of real life itself. In consequence, the purpose of life, continuous advancement, will be promoted in the life of man, and from continuous advancement, continuous youth must invariably follow. To move forward is to stay young, and since it is natural to move forward, it is natural to stay young. Therefore, there is no old age in store for him who fulfills the natural purpose of life by living the life of continuous advancement. To him, the future is a bright picture of youth, ever becoming larger, more beautiful, and more ideal. To know life, the soul of life, is to know that real life is ever young, and he who lives life grows into the likeness of the life he lives. It is therefore evident that he who continues to live real life will continue to stay young as long as he lives, and real life is eternal. Why? Because he is living as God had intended him to be, which was natural. And to live naturally is to put yourself in subjection and live with our Creator. That's the end of chapter 22. And the next one is what to do with birthdays, which sounds very interesting. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching and learning this with us and going over this with us. Remember, we must learn how our body works. We must learn how the mind works. They both follow principles. And if we don't put our thoughts and our actions in subjection to principle, then we're not going to be able to create the things that we want to be able that we desire to create, because we're not creating in sync with how the universe works. The law of growth, for example, and I always use this as an example because it's probably the best example there is for this. You know, we can't just plant a thought seed and expect it to grow in 15 minutes and be that person already. It takes time. You have to change your mind. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way the actions that you take. You have to stop doing specific things that involved older states of being and start doing other things that will involve the new state of being. And you remember, we have to take action on it as well as we think. And once we learn how all this works and we learn how to put it together and meld it together, we take control of our own mind and our own imagination and build those mental pictures and create those thoughts. When we desire to create them, then we'll be able to create that life and have all that we've ever desired and to dream about. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to keep putting forth the effort. That's it right there. It's just effort. Because the majority of people won't put forth the effort. And it's simply the effort which will separate you from them. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this right here. And I will see you in the next video.